To help us further the conversation is the voice of the Cougars, Wrubell, with us in Studio C. Greg, 7 years now of Camp Kalani, but this one feels a little bit different. Why does it feel different to you?
Well, it will be the last time that BYU preps for a season without a conference championship for which to contend. And there's a lot of focus on the next version of camp and what it will mean going into the Big 12, which is why Kalani wants to put so much focus on this current version and letting the seniors go out the right way by giving them the best chance to succeed in this final year of independence. And so on one hand, Kalani's excited about what the transition means for this program, but I think he's really kind of bearing down on the fact that this is an important year for this program, regardless of what comes in 2023. Let's give these seniors, let's have these seniors help us have a great season.
Yeah, perhaps at some point in the past we were like, oh, we're going to be looking at the Big 12 too much instead of kind of the last year of independence. When you have this schedule, it's easy to focus on what you have. Now, not to mention there's a lot of guys who may be listed as juniors but are fourth-year guys who are hoping to make an impact, perhaps go to the NFL next year like we've talked about. And this is one of the most talented teams preseason we've had, Greg, in a long time.
Yeah, it should be a I mean, they'll be ranked by a lot of people in the preseason, which doesn't always happen. We've already talked about the productivity numbers, how those are, legit on their face in terms of who's back and how much productivity returns. And so there are some eyes on BYU this year before the season begins. BYU's had to kind of attract those eyes through September. And now the eyes are kind of on them in August. And now can they keep them with the program through September is the question. And you find out real quickly because I still think the South Florida game becomes intriguing if for no other reason than Gary Bohannon is the quarterback of that team. And Gary Bohannon's got a W over BYU just last year. And that's a program that, again, it's a slow build there in Tampa. But what a splash they could make by playing well in week one. So it's just so tough to look anywhere beyond South Florida right now, even though that Baylor home opener is intriguing for so many reasons. And that September becomes stacked in its own way. Yeah. Even though the P5s are kind of spread, 2 September, 2 October, 1 November, I think is the way it breaks down. That first week, I think, it's first game for everybody. And BYU will have to be sharp. And again, just having that quarterback there for them, for South Florida, is a kind of a calming force and a guy that's had some big-time reps.
Interesting week one, given BYU's history in Florida, what happened last time with Jaron Hall there in his first start.
What even happened last year?
It's very, very.
It was a weird game.
Yeah, Kalani didn't think they finished the South Florida game well. And so there's a lot to kind of throw into week one where people are going, South Florida. But there's a few things there to make it interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. You brought up the preseason rankings. It's been 13 years since BYU was ranked in a preseason Associated Press poll. 13 years.
That's a long time, man.
Do you expect the Cougars to show up in the AP poll?
I would. I expect them around in the back five somewhere. I think that's kind of where a lot of people have BYU, right in that range. So it'd be great to have that preseason ranking, though. And like you said, after so long. Yeah.
It'll be nice too because hey, go and get that dub in Florida, 2 in a row. That's not a talking point anymore with Florida. And then we've got Baylor at home.
And it becomes a real marquee matchup.
Yes.
Now that's the game people are watching nationally.
Totally. And we expect BYU to compete well, perhaps even win that one. And then, hey, you go to Oregon, you're on Fox, the rare Pacific Coast day game. So this is exciting. But let's talk about some of your fall camp storylines. Yeah. Obviously, there's like almost a month to go. But still, there are things to watch. What are you watching in fall camp?
One of the most intriguing storylines to me is who ends up on the offensive line. Because someone who started a lot of games last year is probably going to be a backup this year.
How wild is that?
Again, presuming Kingsley comes in and does what people expect him to do, someone who got a lot of starts will be starting the season on the bench.
Now, are you referring to left tackle, right tackle?
I'm referring to an offensive lineman.
Anything.
Because there were a lot of guys that got starts, and pretty much everyone's back for the most part, with the exception of James. And so someone who was a guy last year might have to take a backup role this year, which is great for the program, right? To have that kind of depth. But I think it's one of the most intriguing things is to see where that thing settles on the offensive line.
You might have a freshman All-American who doesn't start. Like we'll see with Campbell Barrington. Harris LaChance versus Kingsley for right tackle. Braden Keim is an up-and-comer. Blake Freeland feels pretty solid at left tackle. Connor Pay pretty solid at center, but like, and Clark Barrington's the right guy.
Joe Tukuafu. So again, all those names you just mentioned, that's more than 5. So someone's going to sit.
Good
problem to have.
I said this yesterday, Greg. I've never been more excited to watch the offensive line in my entire life, than this group.
Right.
What's your biggest question mark other than the offensive line, and who's going to be in the starting 5?
Question mark. I guess I'd say the same thing every year. Can BYU stay appropriately healthy through camp? That is not missing mainline players for long periods of time or the season, because it just seems like every year someone you were really counting on has something really unfortunate happen during camp. I guess that's football, but it'd be nice to go through a year where you're not talking about having to lose a frontline, mainline, type A, got to have him type player for any period of time. So that would be a question I'd want to have answered in a positive way. Yeah.
I'm excited to see how, where's Isaac Rex and his rehab coming back after a November injury. And then you look at the receivers, and Dallin Holker as well. Like, does he take the next step? The receiver is exciting. Obviously, Puka and Gunner are the top 2 there. Keanu Hill feels like the number 3, but like Chase Roberts, up and comer, Cody Epps, there's a lot of guys.
So if you were to look at a comeback player candidate for this year, is that one of your categories?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Sure.
Comeback player.
Yeah.
I probably look to both sides of the ball and coming back from injury in this case, right? Keenan Peely and Isaac Rex. I think A-Rod told us during Media Day that he expected Isaac Rex to be full go for game 1. Whether that means full go for camp day 1 or not, they expect me ready to go to start the season. Can Isaac get back, and can Keenan get back on either side of the ball? Those would be my comeback player candidates.
Okay,
camp
love
this
it.
year.
All right, the Mr. Looks the Part. There's always that one guy when you show up on day 1 of camp, you're like, he looks like a football player.
Okay,
And you have to say it like that.
Yeah, let's first of all establish which part it is we're talking about, and I'll focus on the biggest part not returning, and that's Tyler Algier. Does Chris Brooks look the part? And I think that'll be the one I'm looking to see. Mr. Looks the part. I'd go for Chris Brooks from day 1 because
you go for like player, not like physically.
Yeah, but if there's one guy you're trying to replace, it's Tyler Algier, and he gets the first crack at it. And everything we hear is that he looks the part.
Yes, so,
I love it.
And he looks the part, like jacked.
Yeah.
He also is
He also looks the part.
That's the
How about the
physique.
Oh Yeah That Guy award?
Chase Roberts. He caught his last high school pass 4 years ago, right? But he was an Under Armour All-American coming. Remember how big that was at the time?
Oh my goodness!
Utah made a run. I mean, he was a Pac-12 guy. People wanted him out of the Pac-12. Utah makes a run. BYU that was a big time get at the time. And of course, that's happened at BYU. These big signing day, excitements taper off as he goes on a mission. Then last year was the year he sits. There's some injury issues. So it's been a long time. So he's my because that was a big time get when they got him.
Yep.
And I know he's only competing to maybe be the number 3 right now, but another 6'4" receiver with just crazy high school numbers and someone that has kind of bided his time a little bit right now. So yeah, it's going to be a battle for the number 3, but I think it'll be right there in that mix.
There's about to be an AF pipeline at receiver, by the way.
Let's go.
There's a bunch of comeback missions.
He certainly has the capability, speaking of Chase Roberts, to surprise a lot of people in fall camp. But that's another one of our categories. So maybe Chase is the same answer for the category. If not, is there another guy that will surprise you, that you think you expect to surprise people in fall camp?
And not a surprise from the extent of he has no pedigree, but because he's a newcomer to the program, Gabe Judy-Lally might be a guy that steps in and plays right away. I mean, we're talking about, he was a starter in the SEC. Now it's Vanderbilt, program that is on its way, trying to build from the bottom. But still, if you're a starting cornerback in the SEC, you've got some skills and some abilities that could translate. And so I think the surprise would be that there are a lot of starts back at corner, right? I mean, D'Angelo Mandel was locked in, and Caleb Hayes played most of the year at starting corner, and they're back. And there are a lot of starts in that secondary back. So can a guy come in and be good enough to knock someone off who was a starter and be a first-game guy? So that could be a potential surprise.
It's a loaded group too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And PFF loved his coverage skills. They said he was one of the best in the SEC down the field. So that's awesome. Okay, fall camp MVP. We're kind of taking Jaron out of it for obvious reasons.
Oh, okay. If we're going to do that, because you want that guy to be your MVP.
You want that guy, yes.
I'll go Puka.
Yeah.
Didn't have a camp last year. Right? And we saw once he got going just how good he could be, but that was a slow start to the season. They were working him in because he gets a camp injury, and he was like basically an MIA in camp for through no fault of his own, other than the fact that he was jacked up. So can you get Puka for a whole camp healthy? I think if you do, he's going to be showing up on all those daily Twitter highlight videos from BYU football.
The loudest highlights.
Right.
That's what Spencer said too.
You know, and again, there are a lot of guys to look at, but because of the fact he didn't have a camp last year, and I was so excited to see what he would do, that's kind of what I'm looking for this year, is he gets a full camp and looks like, you know, the take the top off guy he really is.
805 yards with the slow ramp up. I think 1,000's within his grasp. Like, he's a 1,000-yard
if a full season guy,
Yes, if he's a full season guy, yes.
And you know his running mate is the other guy you'd want to see have a really strong camp, and that's Gunnar Romney, because you know the only question with Gunnar's ever been, you know, durability and the ability just to stay. He takes a lot of punishment. The way he plays the position, the way he lays out, the number of times he's on the ground making great catches. He does get battered, but can he have a healthy camp and a strong start to a season? If you started the year with a healthy Puka and a healthy Gunnar, I mean, on the edges, it really is. Yeah.
The voice of the Cougars, Greg Wrubell, is with us on BYU Sports Nation. Before you go, and because the blue-white scrimmage is this Saturday night for BYU women's soccer.
Yeah, it's going.
We got to ask you about the number 3 preseason ranking.
Yeah, no pressure.
Right? Like, you lose Michaela Coulihan and just a wealth of score. I mean, Cameron Tucker as well. You lose your starting keeper in Cassidy Smith. Like, number 3. What do you think of the number 3 preseason ranking, given that BYU lost so much talent?
Yeah, well, in that national runner-up, and yet a lot of pieces back, you do lose, like you just said, really key cogs. But what a great measure of respect for Jen, and the fact that this isn't just it's not just a team, it's a program, and they trust the program. You know, they know that while those 2 main goal scorers are gone, the cupboard's not bare. And ultimately, they believe that Jen is going to, you know, put another nationally prominent team on the pitch, and that's tremendous respect at number 3. It's so exciting, and it starts this weekend, blue-white, and then they'll have some alumni action next week. Then on the road to North Carolina, and that won't count in the standings because it's technically an exhibition. But Carolina is going to play VCU and BYU in their 2 exhibitions, and these are legit matches, and one that hasn't really happened in a regular season or postseason setting for some time, and BYU's first ever trip to Carolina. We'll find out pretty early where BYU stacks up with these, you know, teams like Carolina, another top 10 team as well. And I moving forward even a little bit more, this team that we're seeing this year will come back more or less intact next year, which is the first year of the Big 12.
One senior.
And they'll lose maybe 1 player off this year's team, right? So that's the team they'll bring back for the first year of the Big 12. If you want to talk about which BYU program will be the first to win a Big 12 championship, you might be looking at it.
Yeah.
At the seeds being sown this weekend. Yeah.
Women's cross country might, on the calendar, play earlier just to get that nod. But yes, I agree.
Yeah. I think soccer takes the pitch first, so then cross country's meets start soon thereafter, right?
I just mean the championships.
Where it comes in the calendar,
yes.
Right.
Both will win that first year potentially.
Ooh.
Which is wild because the WCC is actually a better league than the Big 12 in soccer.
Yeah. Well, you could argue that,
Yeah, they put like 2 teams in the tournament last year. It's like, 2? We put 2 in the Final Four.
Yeah.
Let's go. Come on.
All right, Greg, great stuff.
You bet.
Fall camp is back. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Let's go.
Okay.